All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live on this Wednesday morning. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind, as we get going here, talking more LSU, reacting to last week, and start to look ahead to LSU Southern coming up on Saturday. That'll be an evening kick, a night kick for LSU and the Jaguars. Obviously, everybody kind of talking about it, and we always link up with our broadcast partners, our TV partners, WAFB, and our guy, Jacques Doucet, who's in here every Wednesday with us, kind of chopping it up, talking about what's going on in the world of sports. JD, good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Good morning to everybody here. Looks like we got a little cool front coming in next week. It's nice fall weather. And
Football weather.
Yeah, we got NFL this week. We got the Bills and the Rams on Thursday. The Saints kicking off Sunday. I love the Sunday night game, by the way. Brady and the Bucks taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. So, yeah, it's a great time of year.
Before we jump into LSU, before we jump into what's going on, Sportsline, Friday night, back for another season.
Yeah.
High school football, and really high school football in this area, man, with Zachary and Catholic High and U High and Woodlawn and all these powerhouses with big-time players, and really look like they're going to make a run at it. It should be a really fun season to cover the sport.
Yeah, we've had state champions, a handful of state champions every year, it feels like. I mean, even if you go up that 110 route where you're talking about, Madison Prep and Southern Lab and into Zachary and all those schools, and, certainly Catholic High. And, yeah, we got a lot of great local teams. Looking forward to getting out and covering it. 10:10 is our start time on WAFB, and then we switch over to Cox 16, WBXH, and so we do around a 45, 50-minute show altogether, and we stream the whole thing online. And so Steve Schneider started the show 33 years ago, and still rolling hard. And we'll be throwing out the Sportsline footballs too at the local games, so keep your eye out for that. And then I should have said on Sunday we've got Burrow and the Bengals taking on the Steelers. That's our WAFB NFL game at noon. So go to your local sports bar where they got the ticket. You could watch the Saints and the Bengals at the same time there.
That'll be cool, man. All right, LSU, Sunday night. Obviously, lots of build-up to that one. I know that we've reacted for the most part on just kind of what we saw, but now having a chance to hear Brian Kelly speak with the media yesterday, how do you analyze what LSU got going in their first game under his direction?
Well, first of all, it was not LSU versus Oregon 2011. These were not two top 5 teams going at it. I mean, these were two unranked teams, and both teams did their share to lose the game. Obviously Florida State and the ridiculous play call on the goal line to fumble it away. They made their share of mistakes throughout. LSU special teams obviously were a circus, fumbling the 2 punts. It didn't lead to any points, but it certainly robbed LSU possessions in which they could have done something with the ball. The 30-yard field goal blocked in the first half, an extra point to force overtime blocked, a punt that was shanked that led to a Florida State field goal. Those were all, bad things. Certainly, it was a misleading start. Jaden Daniels breaks off a 25-yard run on the first play of the game. He gets hit late. It's a 40-yard play altogether. You're first and goal or second and goal at the 5-yard line, and the snap goes awry, and you lose 14 yards. It would have been nice to take a 7-0 lead. So the offense found its footing late in the game. How much was that predicated by Florida State's defense? We'll find out. LSU's defense didn't make any electric plays. I know they made some plays here and there, but all we talked about the defensive line, we expected some sacks. We expected some maybe forced fumbles. I think DBU only intercepted 8 passes last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't intercept any passes in this game. So, all in all, a really rough loss. I think you told me yesterday, look, if LSU would have won the game, the football gods would have paid them back, later. I mean, the extreme of that is 2002, the Bluegrass Miracle, and then the regular season finale. LSU lost to Arkansas.
Well, the next week they got beat by Alabama, 33-0.
Yeah, 31-0. I mean, Nick Saban was furious after the Bluegrass Miracle.
He was. I told that story earlier this week. Whoever interviewed him on the side, he had his hands on his hips, and he's kind of like going back and forth. We had no business when he's like all pissed off.
I think he let off. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I feel bad for Kentucky's players,
Right.
And it's just they really played like garbage, and then really this one play happens and they win, in the second half. Anyway, but a great atmosphere. I mean, I know these neutral site games are a controversial subject. I mean, you and I grew up going to Tiger Stadium, seeing Florida State in Tiger Stadium, Miami of Florida, Texas A&M when they weren't in the SEC.
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. And to LSU's defense, they did have Texas coming back in 2020. COVID ruined that. UCLA is coming back in 2024, and they do have this home and home with Clemson in 25 and 26. So, but I don't mind taking weather out of the equation. Obviously, it's rained every single day, and the heat. Look, Florida State brought their fans. You know, this talk of them only bringing a certain amount. They had 35,000 fans in the Dome, and LSU brought their fans. Yeah.
Really
and there's something about the start of the season, right? I mean, if Florida State and LSU play in a bowl game, they don't sell 68,000 tickets.
You're right.
There's something about the energy of the season kicking off. So that's just me rambling about the first game, but those are some thoughts.
Maybe a positive, most alarming thing you saw was the best thing you saw. You know what I mean? What was the best thing you saw from LSU on Saturday night? I know it's tough to dive into that because it was a very sloppy game, but is there any good you take away from it?
Well, I think you and I talked about it yesterday. You know, Jordy Jenkins is never the first wide receiver we talk about in terms of his skill set and what he brings to the table. But if you look at it, I mean, I feel like he's their most consistent performer. I mean, if you go back to 2020, I think, you know, that season opener against Mississippi State, I think he caught the first, like, long passes in that game when we spent the whole preseason talking about Racey McMath and Terrence Marshall, and then he caught the game winner at Arkansas in 2020 from TJ Finley. Like last year when Tyrone Davis-Price ripped off the 287 against Florida, he caught 3 touchdowns in Tiger Stadium. He catches the touchdown to win the game against Texas A&M, and in the bowl game he caught a touchdown. He was one of the few people that showed up at the bowl game and said, hey, let's make the most of this. And I think the post-game interviews, that might be an interesting or an odd thing to say, but I think the LSU fans who watched the way Jaden Daniels and Jordy Jenkins and some of these guys handled their post-game interviews, they were impressed. They said, well, these guys are leaders. You know, Jordy Jenkins talked about Malik fumbling the two punts and said, hey, look, man, that's in the past. We're behind you. And Malik caught 2 passes on what should have been the game-tying drive. So, you know, I thought Jordy was, you know, he caught 2 touchdowns. Certainly that last touchdown was high and hot, and he went up and got it. And so those are some positives that I took away from the game.
What was the most alarming thing you saw?
Well, Kayshawn not catching a pass or touching or, you know, having any yards till 5.5 minutes left. I would not have expected that. I think that they need. You remember Florida State in the second half ran that end around to one of those guys, and they need to do some of that. Need to get his hands on the ball a little bit. You know, the body language thing is an interesting topic. I've had people tell me, boy, you sure looked pissed the other night. I wasn't. I might have looked that way, you know. So, you know, sometimes people look one way and they don't feel that way. So a lot of body language interpretation by people and a lot of NIL talk and this and that. There was some talk about Brian Kelly and his body language. You know, he's not emotional like Coach O. I mean, Coach O was, you know, you saw that raw emotion on the sidelines. That's what we've been used to. He's different. So, you know, I just thought the defense, like you said, didn't get off the field on third down. I'm not sure what this running game is going to produce. There were some plays here or there, but there was not the big 25, 30-yard run. So, you know, we'll see. There were a lot of tuck and run, backyard ball in the first half with Jaden Daniels. That's not going to get it done in the SEC. So, a few things.
What'd you make of Jaden Daniels?
Well, obviously, when we went to camp and he would tuck and run, it was like, ooh, this is electric, you know. And certainly on the first play of the game, it was electric. And, you know, he's not 225 pounds. And so that's a question. How many times can he get hit? And then late in the year, is he wearing out? But that was, you know, he led him down the field, 99 yards on the final drive. And, you know, I thought we were going to see Garrett Nussmeier at some point.
Yeah.
And we didn't. Yeah, and he got asked about it yesterday, and that wasn't even the topic of conversation. So
I was surprised by that.
Did he not say, like, all during camp, oh, you know, they're right, you know, we got a 1A and a 1B, and they're right there, and, you know, so he did grimace back in the spring. Coach, will you play 2 quarterbacks? Ooh, like he didn't want to do it. But I read a great article by Brody Miller of The Athletic that showed he has played 2 quarterbacks a lot during his career. So I would expect Garrett to play this weekend. But, yeah, I was surprised that he went start to finish because there definitely were a lot of struggles before LSU finally kind of found their footing late in the third quarter because it was a dud for about 3 quarters from LSU.
You went to a lot of the practices that were allotted to the media. You saw pretty much all of them. How much tackling did you notice in preseason camp?
Well, I think that's always a tough thing, right? That is a dance in terms of, we would hear about Les Miles and before the national championship game against Alabama and how they were headbanging for a month and they didn't have their legs and too much hitting. And then you had the thing, well, you don't want to get in the game and guys are fumbling and getting hit because they haven't gotten hit in camp. So, I think they did their best job with it. I'll never forget, Leonard Fournette getting hurt in 2016 in the camp and thinking to myself, how does that happen? How do you injure Leonard Fournette in camp? So I think that's the difficulty in terms of trying to get the guys ready and trying to them for them to get hit. And then also you don't want to have any, he's talked a lot about soft tissue injuries and we don't want that kind of stuff. So when they scrimmaged, was it kind of thud? Mm-hmm. I don't think they ever really brought guys down to the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I feel bad for Mason Smith.
Just a freakish, up in the press box, I didn't really see what had happened. I saw when he walked off the field, he was in terrible pain, and it was a bad sign. But looking at Darren DeQuano's video, the guy he ran through the air to celebrate, hit the ground, and immediately, something's wrong. And so that's football when those things happen. You spend all the preseason talking about certain guys, and then sometimes they immediately get hurt and they're out. So it's terrible. I remember going to Devon Gottschall did his free football camp in Plaquemine and going to talk to him. And what do you think about this defense in LSU? And he was the first guy he brought up. Man, I love my guy Mason Smith. Man, he's gonna have a huge year. Blah, blah. And so that's an awful thing, man. I feel bad for him.
Really, on the play, he got hurt. If you watch it, he blows the play up. Mm-hmm. He really kind of makes the play without being on the ball. And it just, it is tough to watch.
Some big baby Glen Davis in him. Like, how does a guy this size move like that?
Definitely. Definitely.
Is there is there any merit to them wearing knee braces all camp, all spring, all fall, and then he obviously doesn't wear a knee brace that game?
Yeah, that might be a question for the SEC teleconference today. Coach Kelly goes on at 10 a.m., but I did see some kind of chatter here and there about the knee braces and what do they mean and stuff. So that might be a question for today.
Special teams woes fixable?
Yeah, I would think so. I feel bad for a guy. Mason Taylor, for a true freshman to go out and catch 5 passes. I joked that yesterday that was a 1-year total for Les Miles. Like a tight end would have like 5 catches all year. Right. And by the Music City Bowl, Deshaun Smith caught 5 passes. Like, look, he can catch. Throw him the ball. And then next year they don't throw him the ball 5 times all year. But and a heads-up play by him, like I told you yesterday, the testosterone didn't override his brain and say, I'm gonna run over these 2 guys at the goal line. He was heady enough to get out of bounds and give him the last play. Apparently, he missed the block at the end or whatever. But I had to put that more on the coaches to, have veteran guys in there to block or whatever. So I would think they're fixable. I would hope so. You don't want to see anything like that happen again. But, kind of like Les Miles' first game, the defense. Remember Arizona State? They just got ripped.
We were talking about that.
And then after that, they made adjustments and got a lot better. So hopefully special teams are similar.
I agree. And we referenced that Arizona State game just because of – the defense, obviously, Pelini, people were like, what are we watching? And the defensive backs were playing 7-8 yards off the ball. They weren't pressing. They weren't playing man. They had all these athletes everywhere. And it was just – and then they made this transition where you're like, there it is. That's what people have been wanting. And it happened very immediate.
Yeah.
I would say the same about this defense, right? This defense played – I thought they played pretty good. They were forcing some third down situations. They just couldn't get off the field – from a playmaking standpoint.
The middle of the field, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of it was Florida State shallow crossed LSU to death.
Yeah.
And then I think their first big completion, it was just right over the middle. And so, getting off the field on third down. And the LSU's defense was on the field way too long. I think at one point the time of possession was 13-3 or something like that. So that is a misleading statistic a lot of times, time of possession, but it isn't in terms of getting tired and getting worn out.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought for that sake of LSU, they looked really good in the fourth quarter. Like, they looked like they're in shape. That final drive, they were moving. They were on the ball. They were, you didn't see a lot of people kind of lagging behind in the fourth quarter. They were still moving around out there. So this is a team that, if nothing else, they're in really good shape early on in the season. I know that the Mason Smith thing just sucks. There's no way to paint that it's just anything but bad. This weekend, Southern in Tiger Stadium, first time LSU's played a SWAC team, first time Southern and LSU obviously have matched up. They're 10 miles away from one another. You've covered both programs at certain points, even that 2003 season when they shared the championship parade with Pete Richardson and Nick Saban sitting on the back of the convertibles together, kind of waving to the crowd. This should be a pretty cool weekend, right?
Yeah. Certainly I've covered tons of LSU Southern baseball games, maybe a couple of LSU Southern basketball games. This was always the topic. Is this game a good idea or not? And I think it is a good idea. I think everyone, look, there are probably going to be pockets of people here or there that maybe don't act the way they should or whatnot. And if something like that happens, I hope nobody labels and says, well, all LSU fans acted this way, or all, let's not do that. Let's not have like 24 people label the
ruin
entire.
It for everybody.
Yeah, and we're guilty of doing that, just like these knuckleheads who go online and threaten LSU players after the game, and then somebody, LSU fans, that's the way they act. It's like any group of people. There's bad apples here. Don't let the bad apples label the whole bunch. But I think it's going to be great. I think you'll see people coming together who, quite frankly, have never come together and having a good time and cooking food and whatnot. Look, LSU's a 47.5-point favorite. I hope that some of those Southern guys make plays, and I don't want to get drilled for this, but I hope they score a couple touchdowns and have some moments in Tiger Stadium and have things to talk about the rest of their lives.
Block an extra point.
Yeah, can you imagine if they block an extra point right away? But look, I told you yesterday, Garth Brooks was the show that everyone had been waiting for. Well, second on the list is the Human Jukebox. I've been hearing for years the LSU fans want to see the Human Jukebox in Tiger Stadium and the dancing dolls and all that. And they certainly put on a show and have a taste of HBCU in your stadium. So I think it'll be great. I wish the weather would be a little better. It looks like it's going to rain and all that, but hopefully, it'll all be okay.
Absolutely. JD, thank you, buddy. It's great to see you, man. What's coming up?
Well, I shot a Jacques talk with a guy named Jordy Culotta yesterday.
Oh, what a douchebag.
Yeah. this rebel of the local sports media. But no, had a great talk with you yesterday.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be posted today. We got sports on Friday, like I said, 10:10 p.m. And then we'll have the Bengals and the Steelers at noon.
Wow.
On Sunday. And so we got a lot of great stuff coming up.
WAFB.com/Jordy for any of the content that you miss here that you want to check out with our news partners. But as always, the website is great, man. They get about 100,000 clicks a day on people just kind of trying to get updates on news stories, on weather, on traffic, whatever you may be looking for. WAFB, they do it better than anybody in the state. Check them out, WAFB.com, and we're always proud to say that they are our partners in television and sharing digital content media. So we'll be back with more and close it out here. The Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered as always by Go Chevrolet.